live connected with Miami, I guess.
Tony, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, wow. Where are you? In a grand hall in your house somewhere?
I'm in a studio right now, actually. So that's why the line is so bad. I'm doing some voice DJ drops.
Okay, but you have a lot of reverb on your voice now.
Hold on. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, it's slightly better, yeah.
Okay.
Great. Well, Tony, welcome to our show, and thank you for...
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, we're honored to have an interview with the great Tony Carrasco, of course.
Thank you very much. Me too.
And, well, on preparations for this interview, I've sent you my notes, and I thought then you know what I'm going to ask you or want to talk about with you. Because
probably my past, for sure, right? It's got to be in the past.
Sorry?
You got to probably want to discuss my past.
Yeah. I want to talk to you mainly when you got to Italy. Can you explain to us how and when you got to Italy? Because you did a Studio 54 mix album in 1979. And then you appear with Charles Ovelli in 1979 in Milan, in Italy.
Yeah. Basically, it's a long story, but I'll try to make it simple. I was working in 54, and I had signed a contract with CBS, Messaggero Musicale. I was a very young in-house producer, and I met Cesovali through that association, and I was offered to produce the group called Elite. This is before the Studio 54 project took off.
Okay.
And so I got together with Ceso, and we wrote the tracks with the band, and we recorded that album. That's how my first record with Ceso. Was a good friend, actually.
Was that the premiere album?
Yes.
Yeah, yes. I played "Reach for Me" earlier in the show, which is a brilliant disco track. We really love it.
Yeah, I think it's the last. I would say I call it the last of the Mohicans. It's basically the last era of the disco thing.
Yeah.
And so from there, then obviously I went to different directions. But after that is when I did the Studio 54 album.
Yeah, that's very cool. And I'm going to play some, during the show, we're going to play several tracks on which you appear or you mixed or you arrange. I just played The World Is You from E-Commission. Brilliant track.
Cool.
And
I did that with Graziano and Miko. We did that back in 83, 84-ish. In that period.
Yeah. That's 84. Yeah, that's right. But let's start as of when you got to Milan. So 79, 78?
Yeah, it was actually the end of 78 starting, and it was just going into 79. So I would say probably we're looking at, it was like the beginning of December.
Yeah. Around
that period, and then from there it went on to 79. So it's a very, very short. My arrival in Italy was actually at the end of 78.
Okay. But how did you get in touch with Charles Ovelli? Because it's not someone you walk up to and say, hey, let's make an album.
No. Again, like I mentioned earlier, I got signed to CBS a recording contract as an in-house producer. And Chelsea was working with a lot of Italian artists at the time.
Yeah.
So we needed an arranger, and they recommended Cesovali, who at that time I knew about him, but I didn't know that he was actually working with the same record label, which was Messaggero Musicale. The famous, together it was with CBS and Messaggero Musicale together. So through the A&R of that label, they introduced us, and we sat down. I think it took something like 20 minutes. And me and Chelsea and the group, we would just hit it off, and he's okay. Let's start. So that's the whole thing, how it went. And the company was very excited about this joint venture and this collaboration, this co-production we did together. And we went to the studio and we just recorded the album quite quick, to be honest. We really fast.
Yeah, cool. But how did you do that? Did you speak Italian or did they speak English?
No. At the time, I was speaking Spanish.
Spanish?
It was helping me get through.
Because at that time, the Italians did hardly speak anything outside of Italy. They'll, no English, nothing.
I think also even today Italians don't speak so much English. Not that I want to criticize my good Italian brothers and sisters, but it's improved now. But back in the days, no, they spoke no English.
No.
So I was going around with some Italian words, some mostly Spanish and mainly English. Well, Chelsea spoke really a little bit of English as well.
Okay. That's a challenge then. Okay, so let's move on. Like you did Elite, and then we came into the early 80s, and you did stuff like Busy & Co., Klein and MBO, B-Funk, I really like, but just played B-Funk, Blind Love.
Thank you. Oh, cool. Nice. Me and my good partner, Mario Boncaldo.
Yeah, that's, my personal favorites are those works you did with Boncaldo, because the sound with the 808 drum machine, the synths, that's really my kind of thing. And
thank you very much.
and that's why I really wanted to talk to you, because many of my friends are producers as well. I'm a producer myself, and they really had questions. Well, how did they do that, and how did he end up with Joseph Elliott, etc., etc. So let's stick to the things that most people do know. It's like Klein and MBO, Dirty Talk.
Right.
Brilliant track. I love the whole album. And now people say that it was a big influence for bands like New Order.
Sure.
Blue Monday. Right. And it was actually the first step to Chicago House. How do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I really think what we created in 81, when we did the Klein Bill thing, was all monophonic. Basically, it was the first private recorded record with the 808 drum machine, where we were actually creating really psycho rhythms, syncopate rhythms.
Yeah.
Programmed through a drum machine and through a monophonic rolling keyboard, playing one notes. I think what we were doing was okay. First of all, I'd like to say that my big challenge of living in Europe and Italy was to basically do something completely that I was completely raised on. I'm originally from New York City. I was raised with the disco, the funk, and the soul music. And when I went to Europe, I just wanted to completely go into a whole experimental direction, something completely different with unknown artists and unknown singers, etc., etc. So the Klein Bill project, the whole thing was basically experimental, man. I mean, we had a pretty clear idea what we wanted to do, but it's really an experimental project. We really didn't develop what we wanted to develop. We had some great ideas. We wanted to continue the project, but we weren't able to find a record label that was able to understand what we wanted to do. And we had some problems with Zanza Records and also Phoenix Productions, but I want to go into that now. Also Atlantic, when we signed the album in the US, they weren't getting it. Everybody gets to like 30 years later, I think Klein Bill is an iconic, timeless track. It will be forever in the discotheques and hopefully in music books. I think what we did was an incredible work, and to be honest, I want to leave it at that, because I think there's not much to add except that, like I said, it was a completely purely experimental project.
Well, a very successful experiment then.
Yeah.
But even in the 80s.
Even Miko Mission was an experiment, and when I did that with Graziano and Miko, it was also an experiment. It was actually the beginning of which you guys will call Italo, and Zig's music will call Italo disco. But at first it was just electronic music. Again, it was just electronic melodic music, the Miko Mission stuff. And I didn't want to, when we did the first record, which was again in '84, all the Italian producers, they jumped on our bandwagon. So I didn't want to continue with that sound. So I completely changed that sound again.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be repeat my sounds over and over again for my productions. So I constantly try to keep myself fresh and change things.
Yeah, well, you succeeded. I mean,
yeah, and I mean, then if you look at, for example, since you're talking about 808, if you look at a Turas, which is the Amnesty project, it's sort of like a very pop group, Novecento, which is basically the Pelosi family, and I added like some of the Climbio, the drum elements to it. So that's Turas, right? But again, that's experimental. It's just basically this, you know, they're more of a funk band, and I said, okay, let's try to do this sort of Italo, sort of funky disco type thing, you know. And again, it was quite fresh, you know. It's all experimental.
Yeah, well, successful experiments.
Thank you.
And then there's a burning question from some people about the BBM band. I mean,
yes, that's another big project, I think. Another good project.
Yeah, tell us. How did that...
Okay, so that whole thing happened again. Okay, so the association with me and Mario Moncaldo actually started with the first song, which was All Night Long.
Yeah.
And that's completely different than the Klein Viola project that me and Mario and Davide created. It was basically, again, a shoot-off of disco, 70s influence, American music, but with a European tip. And when we did that, we had Linda Wesley, she sang on that. We had Sharon Rose, we had Ronnie Jones. They were the lead vocalist and the chorus of that project. And we had Luca Rossi, who was basically our arranger. And it was just basically, I would say, the ending cycle of the disco thing, you know. In fact, after we did that was it. It was done, you know. We felt there was no need to continue with that kind of sound. But even if you listen to the BB and band tracks, they're quite experimental, you know. We experimented a lot of that stuff, you know. So,
but
yeah.
As far as I see it, you had a lot of fun in Italy back in the days. You know, you could do what you like.
Absolutely. It was I actually. That's why I was explaining why it was very experimental, because a lot of these recording studios where I was working at and record labels that were actually putting up the money for those tracks, they said, you know, just do what you feel. You know, just give us a finished master. And so I never went into the studio with a set idea. We just went in with a very experimental and let's see what comes out. And so. Yeah, we're very lucky. Some good stuff came out.
Well, but you know, I think not a lot of people know that you did the School for Performing Arts in New York.
How do you know that?
I do my homework, Tony.
Yes, I'm a high school performing arts student. I graduated from the same school. Yes,
yeah, and that was where you met Jelly Bean Benitez, didn't you? Or was it in New York?
No. Actually, me and Jelly Bean, we grew up together. Jelly Bean's my best friend. Okay. We grew up together in New York. And so the association with me and John is back when we were like young teenagers. We were already DJing.
Okay.
So yeah, that's a whole nother story. We could go into that another time if you want for the interview, if you like. But me and John, we go way, way back. You know, he's my brother's family. John is actually living in Florida, and I talk to John every day. We see each other. We work together. We do some DJ gigs together. And again, he's a family. He's a brother. So, and we still have that friendship and that brotherly and that family relationship for now, or I would say close to 50 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 50 years. Yeah.
Hey, there's another question because we have a live chat room, and they ask about Peter Richard walking in the neon.
Oh, that was I love Peter Richards. I did a remix for Full Time Productions, and again, when they gave me that track, they told me, you know, do whatever you want. And so I did a sort of like electronic, very aggressive electronic, techno-ish, if you like, vibe. And again, it was a bit experimental on that, but then also with a Cesar Bali track. And I just basically revamped the mix and gave it a really more pumping mix, you know. I think it's a great production. I think it's a really good production.
I love the song. It's previously re-released on the label that does repressings of all those famous hits. Don't know the names, but anyway.
I think it's working. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, well, you did so many good things, so I have to move forward a bit. So, a very big hit, recently remixed by Flemming Dalem from Denmark, is Reese, Love and Music.
Yes.
How did you start that collaboration with Aldo Martinelli?
Well, Aldo Montanelli is another good friend of mine, and in my opinion, a really good producer. I tell you one thing: the tracks that me and Aldo, we actually did. We did the wrist track and we did Moonbase, And me and Aldo just hit it off. I met him at his studio called Airport Studio. I was doing a track for Miko Mission. He was working in that studio. And I don't know, we just like started talking, and he said, "Oh, I'd like to do some collaboration with you." I said, "Oh yeah, why not? Let's, we got some ideas, we can hook up." And so we instantly connected, and the first collaboration was the Love and Music, and we went to a studio where actually Giorgio Moroder goes a lot to record at, and the studio was very famous, where Giorgio Moroder in Italy, Milan, used to record. So we did that Love and Music in that studio, and I remember Aldo was just looking at me because I was just basically programming the drums. He did the keyboards on that track,
Yeah.
and he was like, sort of like, kind of, I would say a bit. He was shy and shocked because he probably was expecting more of a very simple type beat, and I just wanted to do something completely different. So that whole production is very experimental. It's probably not what Aldo maybe was expected, but we took it to a different level. And I think then after, Aldo got sort of the vibe of what basically the collaboration was, he was really open. And I kind of wish we would have done more collaborations. And he's one of my favorite.
Yeah, he's great. He's a great musician.
He's really great. Absolutely.
So, and how did you get that Celeste Johnson? Because she seems to be from Chicago.
Well, she used to be. I used to DJ in Milano at a club called Amnesty. That's how the Amnesty Touras track came. That was actually the theme of that club. And she was a model in Milano. She used to come there every night. And so she told me she was a singer. And I asked her, "Okay, one day I'll give you a phone call and I'm going to bring you to the studio." So I brought her to the studio, and that's how we came up with Love and Music. I mean, she wrote the lyrics just the same day, right when we did the recording.
How cool is that? Because it's always funny how these collaborations suddenly, come together.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there were so many, man. I mean, like I said, it was so many. I mean, I was talking at a club where Sandy Morton used to come in. There was going to be a collaboration with him. There were so many people coming into the club. It was a top club in Milan at the time.
Okay. Well, listen, Tony, do you have time to stay on the phone? That we're going to play Riz?
Sure, absolutely.
Love and Music, and afterwards we talk a little bit more.
Okay, fine.
Stay on the phone.
Definitely. Okay.
Fine. Here's Riz featuring Celeste, Love and Music.
Sometimes mellow, depends on the type of girl or fellow. Love and music help each other. When love is cold, you ask your brother. Put on a slow jam onto the box. Side tranquilly, don't break your heart. Depends the type of girl or fellow. When love is cold and music's not, you can feel good even though you're not. amore. Love is not what you want it to be. You just put on some music and set yourself free. Yeah. When love is not what you want it to be, you just put on some music and set yourself free. Feels so good. All right. Oh, baby, what are you doing? Oh, I don't love you, but it's like music.
Yeah. When Tony says it's experimental, there you have it.
That's a great record. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a funny story. And again, I want to definitely give a shout out to Aldo Martinelli and Celeste, who actually sang and performed on that record.
But it's
Great art.
people still love this track.
Yeah, and Flemmy Downer, who was a good friend of mine, did a great remix, man. I mean, I heard the remix he did, and he also did a remix for Clan Yo, which we are planning to release real soon. And he's, I think, the only person around who's keeping the Italo disco vibe alive today. So he gets my personal compliments for doing what he's done. And you as well, and you listeners who are actually listening to this kind of, this whole 80s European dance music, and so I'm very happy that the Ito thing is still alive.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Still quite popular.
Our station mainly plays this kinds of disco stuff, Italo disco, 80s, synth pop, stuff like that. So that's why you're now in the right station for this music, And we do it. Well, we play it 24/7 actually. And in our show with Andre, we play dance from every thinkable era. So that could be something from strictly rhythm or trance music or whatever, but also very old disco and everything in between. So that's why we invited you in our show to talk about your music, because you did just about everything I just mentioned.
Right. Thank you so much, man. Like I said, it's been a long journey.
Yeah. Hey, let's continue, because we were now somewhere in the period 92, 82, 83.
Yes.
Then you did some stuff with Amanda Lear.
Yes.
Then came along Amnesia with the Nicolosi family, To Russ.
Sure. Right.
I love that track.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that was another experimentation that we did. Actually, the Nicolosi family are the famous group Novecento, which I did with them. That was also a very big production. Completely different than Turas. Turas is more of our funky, electronic, European vibe. It was a song that Nicolosi and I wrote together. And again, we just went into the studio, and I guess, the vibe, everything was just everything was right with that track. I can't even explain how the whole process came. We just felt to just record and experiment, a funky electronic sound, see what comes out. And to us is experimentation.
And what I really like is that I didn't know that, but the vocals are by Valerie Dorr, actually.
That's right. Dora Carafilio, which is the lead vocalist of Novecento, is the lead vocalist of Valerie Dorr. I was supposed to produce Valerie Dorr. I'm going to give you an exclusive now. When they did that demo, they gave it to me, but I was so busy with production and work. I said, I don't want to do this. Let's do this later on or something. So they decided to do it, and it became a huge record. So on the record, there's a special thanks, of course, to me. But I originally had a demo to that, and I sort of like I said, I turned it down because I was so busy with other stuff. But I'm very happy for them that they were, the song became very successful.
Yeah, it was a great track.
Great
and
track.
And
I
great
know her
vocals.
too. Yes.
So
yes.
then we come up in 1984, a very busy year for you, if you ask me, because then you came up with another busy year. You came up with the Breakout Crew. First, Matt's Mute.
Oh, yes.
And the Breakout theme, which I personally really, really love, and our listeners too, I'm sure.
Thank you very much. Yes, the Breakout theme, it's completely, and the Breakout Crew are basically two different directions. Originally, we were going to keep that one name, but then, like if you notice, the Breakout Crew is a little more down tempo, whereas the Breakout theme was more European electronic, which I think is a great track.
It's brilliant.
Instrumental track. Yeah, it's a really cool track, and so I always get a lot of kudos for that. I did that with Graciano Peveraro, and who was another great partner of mine, and a great collaborator with some great tracks together. And all I can say about that track was it was just it's exactly what it sounded. When we did the demo, that's how it was. We were in a small studio in Milan. It was like we were working on a 68-track mixer or something.
Yeah.
And we started just laying down the keyboards, the drums, and exactly what we did that day is what we recorded in the studio, and that's the finished production.
Yeah, it's great.
So,
at the moment I'm trying to recreate your sound on the Breakout thing. Yeah.
I'm always experimenting.
I'll send you my interpretation of the Breakout theme. I'll send it to you tomorrow.
We'll love to hear it. We'll love to hear that.
It's just for me, for fun and to learn. I recreate things just to see why it works, and
cool.
So it's no intention to release it or something like that. It's just for fun.
No problem at all. Absolutely.
But the big question is, on the sleeve it says from the forthcoming album.
Yes, because we at the time. Again, what happened was we had so many ideas of releasing the Breakout Thing album. But what happened was with all the production I was doing, they were becoming very big hits. And Graziano was working with Silvio Pazzoli. So we never really got, to get back in the studio to finish up the album. We did a couple of demos, but they weren't anything like, the Breakout thing. So I decided to put that project on hold. I said, listen, you know what? Let's wait. Let's wait. I think we do too many different things, and it's not what we want to do. So we decided to put that project off. Yeah, and the album never got released, unfortunately.
It's a shame because that sound when we play the Breakout theme, people go crazy still.
Yeah, I think that sound would have been really unique even today, because I think I'm getting a lot of people actually feedback on that. And when we wanted to do the album, not to cut you off, I'm sorry. Again, I was so busy. I was working every day on different music for like almost 10 years. And so time passed and everything, and as time was going on, I started losing less interest in Graziano as well. Yeah. But we really wanted to put that album together.
Yeah, because the Breakout theme had a very good drive. I mean, it goes on and on and on.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, anyway, so maybe is there still something somewhere in your archives, demos you can put together, or is it?
Well, I would tell you this now. What I'm getting a lot of now of interest is my '90s house, Italo house stuff. I did some really experimental stuff on a couple labels, and I'm getting like a lot of interest from all over the world now on those tracks. Risk France just did a special on it, a 2-hour special, a dedicated tribute to Tony Carrasco, they play my 80s stuff, and I had asked all the way up to this 90s stuff. And they like all trying to figure out, all these different sounds, what's going through your head, how you manage to do these things, And I just keep saying it's just experimentation.
Yeah. But, when you still have some good tracks from back in the day, you should contact Eventi d'Azzurro Records, but they would really be interested. Really? You know Marcello still, I think.
Yeah, I know Marcello. Yeah. I know Marcello.
Talk to him. If you have stuff that you say, that could be something to release, talk to him, because he would love it. You would love it.
I have a lot. I have a lot of demos, and I have a lot of stuff that we did on cassette. That sound really, really good. That you put them out today, and people say, "Oh my God!" No. But yeah, it's a possibility. Sure, absolutely. Thank you.
Well, I'll tell him.
Absolutely. Say hello. Say hello to Marcello. Ciao, Marcello.
I will. He's normally in the studio, but not at the moment, I'm afraid. So I'll tell him. Maybe he's listening. I hope he's listening, so he hears you.
Ciao, Marcello. And I want to say hello to all your listeners as well, and all the support you guys been.
Thank
supporting. You. Thank you very much.
They like that.
Thank you so much.
So,
thank you so much.
Let's move on down my list, because you saw my list. and it's only a fraction of what you did in your lifetime until now.
God.
So, but a very famous track is Answering Service. Call Me Mr. Telephone.
Oh yes.
Also
that's
with
another track.
Also with Dora on vocals.
Yes, Dora and the Nicolosi family, and that was another interpretation. We decided to go even more into a more funk, soulful, if you like, Europeanish direction, and that was another record that just came out just the way it came out, and it's one of our favorite tracks actually.
Yeah.
And we're doing remixes of that now. I just got in contact with Nino Nicolosi. I had to re-record the vocals because I did a rap on that.
Oh.
So he's gonna be doing more of like a jazz remix, and so I'm just waiting to see what comes out, and so be on the lookout for that. Yeah, it should be interesting.
Keep me informed, because as I just earlier,
I'll send you my productions. I'll send you the promos.
Yeah, please do.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I don't want to take a lot of your time anymore, because you're probably busy in the studio. I've just a few more questions to finish this up. Of course, you did many more. I mean, we can name them all, but then we'll be here until tomorrow morning, even further. Anyway, in '84, you did Answering Service, another Miko Mission. How old are you? Novecento, Moving On, the Wild Style Club, Everybody Break. Then we got to 1985, Plastic Mode, Baja Imperial.
Oh, that was great. Yes.
Also very nice.
Thank you. Yeah, I did it with Moncala. That's another good, I would say, offshoot of a Climbio-ish type sound.
Yeah.
So it's a little more electronic-ish. And I did that with Mario. That's another good record we did together. Yeah,
really nice.
Project.
Then I skip a bit, and in 1995 you have a track out called Lower East Side, Love and Happiness, and that's actually the first Italo house sound which you did.
Yeah, that's exactly the sound I was talking to you about earlier, that I'm getting a lot of feedback on that from that period, 94, 95, up to 96. There's a lot of people that are interested in those productions, which is strange, because I would have never thought they would become popular, but they're purely minimum experimental Italo house, if you like.
It's funny.
Yeah, that's a pretty good production. Yeah, it's, again, experimental.
Yeah, but, we play a lot of house music from the early 90s. We just have a top chart from The Hague here.
I gotta send you some stuff then. Cool.
Yeah, please do. But we played a lot of tracks from '93, for example, and that to me is still the best period for clubhouse music. Like
absolutely,
we were innovative in that time, and that's why it makes it so great. Listen, I have two more questions, and then we're going to finish up. I spotted that there's a B-Funk featuring Celio, Who, What, Where, When, Why, is being released in 2019. Was that was that the track which was in your archives and previously unreleased?
That track actually was on the album, the B-Funk album. We did a B-Funk album, and I got contacted by several labels to license that out. And Fleming actually contacted me. He actually did a remix of it first. He did sort of like an edit, and I liked it. And then after I got a couple of labels that wanted to do the remix, he actually got in contact with some of these labels, and we just put it out, And so it's another very good production. That's another offshoot of that Climbio-ish type sound. And the singer is an American girl, actually. She is actually an American girl living in Rimini in Italy.
Cool.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm going to play it later. There's one more question from the chat room, I see. and they wonder, and it's a bit an inappropriate question, maybe, because they wonder how old you are at the moment. So in my commission time, how old are you?
I'm 100 years old. I'll leave it at that. I'm what you would call, what's the word? I can't think of the word. My mother was telling me a couple of days ago. I don't have an age, man. Just look at it that.
No, okay.
But I'm not old and I'm not young either. So I'll leave it at that.
It's not important.
The only thing I could tell you is I started making records really early when I was young. So I was really quite young.
Last question for me.
Yes.
Are you still in touch with the producers which you worked with in the 80s? So like Martinelli or, Boncado, unfortunately, he's deceased in 2015, I guess?
Sure. Yes, exactly.
But
a couple of years ago.
Charles Ovelli is still there. Do you still have contact with them?
To be honest, only on social networks, but it's really rare that we are in contact because I'm constantly producing and doing music, and I DJ a lot also around the world, and I don't really look back on that scene anymore. I mean, like I said, if you bring me up to date to it, we could talk it, but I'm always moving forward. So I have a lot of respect for those guys, and I'm not really so much in contact with them, but I would like to, whatever happens, always say hello and have a good chat. I recently talked to the owner of Zanza Records, Salvatore Annunziato, so that was a really good chat.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to Salvatore for like maybe 25 years, so not really. I'm not really in contact with any of them.
You moved on, so to speak.
Yeah, I moved on. But please say hello to everyone for me, please.
Of course we will. And there's another question. Do you still DJ?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
With John Jellybean Benitez, I believe. Or
with
not?
them as well. Oh, of course. Always.
I saw on Facebook that John Jellybean Benitez is also doing a lot of gigs there in America.
Yeah, he's working with Glitterbox, Defected Records. John is like me. I mean, we just continue. We just go with the flow. And John's too very productive, and we're doing some records together. Actually, believe it or not, we're doing some recordings right now as I speak.
And Mr. Tony Carrasco, you get greetings from Marcello Dazzurro. He's not here in the studio, I know, but he says it's Corona time here, and 3 people in the studio is enough. And that's what he says, and that's but he greets you, and of course you get lots of kisses from him.
Me too.
Okay.
Ciao, Marcello.
So Tony, thank you very much for doing the interview with us and taking your time.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you so much for it was a pleasure, and I definitely will be in contact. Absolutely.
Yeah, let's stay in touch.
Stay in contact. Yes.
Yeah, please do. And I'm always curious for your new work.
Thank you.
Because of our station's identity, I wanted to talk about the 80s and the early 90s. So, but
cool.
With new work, we play anything in our show. So send it, and we'll pay attention to it. So thank you very much. Stay safe, stay healthy, and hope to hear from you soon again. And we're going to continue with our show.
All right, thank you, and thank you, listeners, and wish you guys all the best, and we'll be in contact. And thank you very much for this interview. Have a great day, stay safe,
you
and
too.
Talk soon.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao, Tony Carrasco!
Ciao.
Bye, Tony!
Bye.